All right. Can you hear me, Hinda? Or
Yes, yes.
okay? Because I am in a different location. I'm in the gallery. If you're having trouble if my connection at any point is having trouble, let me know, and I will just disconnect from Wi-Fi. And I think my phone automatically connects to the shul Wi-Fi, but I know sometimes depending on the spot in the shul, it can be a little iffy. So I know down there in Florida right now, it's a beautiful day. I can see over your shoulder. Here's what
Mhm.
it looks like here. It is
Oh my gosh.
it's covered in snow, so that's what you're missing. Uh, anyways, so we were slipping and sliding our way to shul this morning. We're gonna stop around 8:30 this morning. There's a meeting with a bris next door, so I gotta be there. So today we're going to learn Reish Ayin Ches, and I think we'll actually start and finish one simon in one whole day because it's just that short. Um, just to remind us, the previous simon we had been talking about um, how if you have candles that are lit and they're on a tavla, can I shake them? Can I move them in that fashion? You know, we talked about the topic of bustis came up as a result of this. So that was Reish Ayin Zayin. Now we're up to Reish Ayin Ches. And I want to give some context here before we even read the one line of the Shulchan Aruch. I'm going to read some of the Aruch HaShulchan's introduction to this because hopefully it sounds familiar. This whole statement is about a line we read about Bameh Madlikin every Friday night. It's in the second parak of Masechet Shabbos. So here's what the Aruch HaShulchan says, just as a background introduction to this topic, is it is very short, but it's actually a very important topic, as it doesn't get a full treatment because like we're going to deal with some of these issues later in Hilchot Shabbos. There are always different factors here at play. Uh, it's Shin Chav Ches is when we really get a full treatment of what these two fellows here at the table. They're both doctors, and how that medicine on Shabbos and Pikuach Nefesh and Refuah on Shabbos. We'll get to that. How many years? I'm hoping only 2 years till we get there. So Shin Chav Ches is far off. Amen. All right. Shanu Chachamim b'Mishnah. Mishnah. So our Shulchan writes that the rabbis, our sages, taught us in the Mishnah. If you extinguish the flame because you are scared of the akum, the non-Jews in that area, kamo parsiim, just like the parsiim, I guess that's the Persians. I don't know that. You know, Shelo hayu marichim or b'yom chagam ela bebeis avodasam. They would only have light on their holidays, except they would only have lights on in their base avodasam, in their houses of worship. So I guess that there was a light on, people would know you're a Jewish home on this holiday of this non-Jewish holiday. So if there was a light on, it would be known that you're a Jew, and nobody wants to be known as like that's a Jewish home. Sometimes in certain times of history, as I guess was the news this morning of sometimes we are not always in the safest spots. Or we extinguish the flame because of listim, bandits, bad guys that we don't want them to see that we came into this place. So we're going to hide. So we don't want to have the lights on. So I go into this place. I'm hiding. I want to blow out the candle. It's Friday night. The bad guy is roaming around, and I don't want to. No one needs to know that I'm here. Why else might you want to put out the light? Is because of an evil spirit that comes upon a person or noachlo when he doesn't have light. It doesn't. This whole situation, this whole condition, is not something that affects the person. V'yesh min machalak It's very interesting. The Rambam here, this really comes from the Rambam, this Parish of Mishnah, describes that there is a type of machala. He's describing here like it's like a mental illness, that a person sees light and they sort of run away from teva enoshi, like from normal. It causes them to not be acting in the way that human beings would normally. V'yesh b'nei adam she'yidmu dimyonos be'ez she'nasam. Sometimes people they see dimyonos, they see images when they're sleeping at night, and im haner dolek be'inyan she'yavo lidei ruach ra. And if there's a light, it only enhances this what they're seeing, v'yetzumi da'atam, and then they're not thinking straight at all. Their mind, it goes to bad places. Oh, now here's really the case that we might deal with the most. Shemechava b'shvil hachola she'ishon. You extinguish the flame because there's a person who's ill in the room who needs to sleep, and they need to get sleep, and the light in the room is, making it hard for them to sleep. So then, to extinguish the flame in that room, the Mishnah says you're potter. Now, it's very potter is an interesting term when it comes to Chashavs, because it doesn't mean it's okay. Potter avalas. That's the yesod when you learn Masech Shabbos. When something is potter, it means you're exempt from a korban. It does not be the oraisa problem, but potter avalas means the rabbanon. You still have the rabbanon hanging over you. Okay, that's the Mishnah. That's the explanation of the Mishnah that's given. And that's where he points out here, anytime he says potter when it comes to Shabbos, and you're exempt, it doesn't mean it's okay. It means it's potter, but still prohibited. So what was the case? What was the case of the case of being sick? If we're talking about a person who is, there's a danger here that they could pass without them getting sleep. So then, of course, you could violate Shabbos. Pikuach nefesh, more to l'chatchila. Of course, you could do it. It's not even a question. What's the Mishnah talking about? Because that wouldn't be potter. That would be mutter. If it was a case of sakana, you wouldn't say potter. You would say, if it's sakana, do it. Forget it. It's not even a question. By saying potter, so the Gemara establishes that the case is talking about a sick person who is not in danger. Okay? If a person is not deathly ill, why is it potter? Should be chayiv. You should be liable for having violated one of the 39 malachos. Either this or that. Where you have a middle ground here. Either it's pikuach nefesh, and I have to violate all of Shabbos. Right? The person's life is in danger. I do whatever I have to do. Or it's usher. Just because the person is not feeling well, but they're not in life-threatening situation, we don't violate Shabbos just willy-nilly for that, do we? So the reason is because it's a malacha she'ein tzricha legufa. It's a malacha where I don't need the core of what I did the malacha on. Right? We're going to see the Mishnah is going to give a. By the way, again, it doesn't need my haskama, but you're going to see today gives just a really great explanation of malacha she'ein tzricha legufa. Where you do a malacha where you don't need the very thing that you did the malacha. That like the malacha that you didn't do it for the malacha, you did it for something else. And if you don't do it for the malacha, then you have to remember that the Gemara talks about that v'leches machsheves asher Torah. That you have to be when you do a malacha, it has to be I'm doing the malacha qua the malacha, right? In order for me to violate the Torah law, I have to violate it in such a way that I have to do the malacha in such a way that it was exactly intended, right? Like, not that it was, I dug a hole. Digging the hole is a problem depending if it's in the house or outside the house. Either it's boneh or it's choresh or it's plowing. But if I didn't want the hole, but I wanted the dirt for something else, then that's the malacha she'ein tzricha legufa. I didn't need the goof of the malacha, which was the hole. Right, which was plowing. So from Torah law, you didn't violate Hilchot Shabbat, but from the rabbis, malacha she'ein tzricha legufa is still awesome midrabanan. Except there's one.
Rabbis can't just argue with it.
So they had no, but they interpreted the Torah in such a way. By the way, so you sound like you're like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda thinks the malacha she'ein tzricha legufa is still awesome midoraisa, which is an interesting situation. We paskin generally like Rabbi Shimon. We didn't say this in the Torah. The rabbis interpreted the words of the Torah in such a way. Okay, I'm happy to tell you why later. It has to do with the Mishkan, which becomes the basis. This is all from the Mishnah.
You read it, it's like
Right, correct. That's why it's pater. But why am I doing it? Because when I put out the light, because I'm running away from the bad guy. First of all, that might be sakaras nefashos, anyways. In which case, it's not even a question. If I'm being chased by a bad guy, and I run into a house, and there's lights on, and I turn the lights on, so the guy doesn't know I'm in there. That's not pater. That's mutter because I'm trying to save my life. The question is, really, we'll use the case of being sick. That's really the good question here about whether I can continue, whether I could turn that light out. Now, on Yair's point where he's challenging me, which is great.
But Hashem, actually, if they just interpret it and it never actually said that in the Torah, then how do we know that?
That's the basis of Torah Shabbal Peh. Right? You're learning Mishnahs here for the first time. That's the whole basis of Torah Shabbal Peh. It was passed down from Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, great. We learned Mishnah together, right? But Moshe Rabbeinu, got a tradition at Har Sinai, and it was passed down orally how to understand the words in the Torah. So that's when it comes to Hilchot Shabbos. A lot of it is there. Very little is written in the Torah of Hilchot Shabbos. Only one malacha, two malachas. Right, two malachas are in the Torah. There are only 2 out of the 39 malachas are in the Torah. One is havara, is los varesh b'chol moshe osechem b'yom Shabbos, and then hosa, the idea of carrying. That has to do with when the man fell on Shabbos in Parashas Beshalach, and Moshe Rabbeinu told them, you can't go outside with this stuff. So the rest of it is learned from Malach as Malach of carrying outside where there's no in a public domain.
Pick up the food. They were looking for food. So to pick up the food, they're going out to do a job.
Right.
How do we learn that's the carrying of that, not just to?
I think he says that you're not supposed to leave your place. I forgot the words in the pasuk exactly. Right. Well, some of those things are right. Yeah, some of those things are derabanan. Yes. Okay. So the Aruch HaShulchan, just to put a bow on this, he says Zeu l'tur v'rov haposkim da'anan kaimalam k'Rabbi Shimon. We paskin like Rabbi Shimon in the Mishnah who says the malacha she'en tzrich l'go pater. He paskins that it's pater. Rabbi Yehuda, you should know, paskins it's you're chayev. And the funny thing is here, most poskim paskin like Rabbi Shimon. But Avalar Harambam, the pasuk Rabbi Yehuda, the malacha she'en tzrich l'gufa chayev, gam kan chayev. So the Rambam in his halachos in the Mishnah Torah says by this very case chayev. You turn on the lights for a sick person who's not in danger, you're chayev. It's a violation of Torah law. It's interesting. We are this time not going to paskin like the Rambam.
You turn off the lights.
You're turning off, yeah. So you don't need the light. When you turn it on, it's not this. You do need the fire. You do need the whatever. Right, but when you turn it off, it's because I want to sleep. It's not because I want the leftover coals or I want the wick. I'm not blowing it out so I could use the very same thing. A great example of a mlacha shetzricha legufa when it comes to turning out a candle would be to I don't know if anyone would do this, but if you light a candle just to soften up the wick, so the next time when you light it, right, then it's easy to catch. So some people, by the way, my understanding, some people do this Erev Shabbos.
The wicks are much better.
Right, so it was where you wanted to kind of melt the top so that you could more easily catch it.
What on Hanukkah?
I don't do it. I melt the bottom. I melt the bottom so that it sticks to the Chanukiah. But if you did that, that's a malacha where you want to blow out where you want the wick to be exactly as it is. So when you're turning out the fire, and you're blowing out the fire, that is shricha lagufa, right? But if you're blowing it out because you want to sleep, that's not. I don't need it wasn't because I needed the wick or I needed the coals or whatever was left over from the fire. They're saying that even if I blow out the candles because I want to sleep, I'm not blowing it out because I want the wick to be left as is. That's still an issa de oraisa. Now let's go to the Shulchan Aruch on the Mishnah Berurah now. Okay, with the background of that.
We follow Rabban and Rabbi Yisrael.
Let's find out. We're about to read the Mishnah Berurah. I mean the Shulchan Aruch on the Mishnah Berurah. Let's see. And it's funny is here that the Shulchan Aruch on Yair's question doesn't take such a clear stance. Let's take a look. At least in here, maybe in the Beis Yosef it's clear. The Mishnah, the Shulchan Aruch writes, "Mutar lechabos haner b'shvil sheyishan hacholeh sheyesh bo sakana." Okay, I mean shkoyach. Everybody agrees on that, right? It's permissible to turn out and to extinguish a candle in order that a sick person who is in a state of sakana, of danger for their life, so they can sleep. Again, nobody would disagree with that. He has made the most consensus statement out there, which is if somebody's life is in danger and it depends on turning out a light, turn out the light. Mishnah Berurah Sifkat and Aleph. He gives a lot more here. The Mishnah Berurah has a lot to say on this one line of the Shulchan Aruch, and we'll read all of those now. Aleph. Sifkat and Aleph, Mutter v'chulei, Ayin berambam b'perish HaMishnah shekasav. If you look at the Rambam's Perish HaMishnayos, he writes, the dafka b'she'iyef shalahotzi acholad l'makom acher. By the way, even if it's a case of sakana, right? If you can move the person somewhere else, they could go to the next room over in the hospital, they could, right? Or the hastir or menu, or you have a Shabbos light, or the light is where you can block the light. Right, so that you don't have to turn it out, but you will effectively do the same thing of giving them the opportunity to sleep.
I found with the Shabbos light is that invariably on Tuesday, I figure it's on.
That it's on still, right, on Shabbos. It's still. Yeah. Oh, I don't have to fix it up, Freddy. That's how good. That's how good the Shabbos light is. You don't even remember that it's on. After Shabbos is over. So it means this works. Right? How can you be, cover the lights? It's forgetting that they didn't have Shabbos lights, but you cover it like we talked about last week. There's a hole where it doesn't extinguish the flame, but you basically cover it, but there's still oxygen in there so that it doesn't go out. As we said before at the end of the previous siman, or take the light and move the light, because if your choices are turn out the light by blowing it out, or moving the light, which is a problem of muktzah. Well, one is worse than the other. Turning out the light is a malacha. Now you could say, "Oh, you're patur because the malacha she'atzrich lagufa," but it's a worse issue to violate. The ilav hachi bevana yosef tov letaltal muktzah milahavor al yidei isa kviya. Right? Of course, you should rather do muktzah than violate one of the malachos. If those are your choices, okay, you have to do something. So if you're going to do something because you have to because of the sakana, so rather do akal tchila. That's the whole discussion about when Shabbos, when you have to violate Shabbos, is a machlokas, and we'll get to this later, much later in Hilchot Shabbat, whether Shabbos is hutra or dechuya, right? When Shabbos is called upon to be violated, let's say one's wife is in need of going to the hospital because they are about to give birth. They are water broke, everything, whatever. You need to go to the hospital now. So the question is, is Shabbos off the table? Like I should treat it like it's Sunday right now, and anything that needs to happen right now, forget it. I'm not even thinking twice. I can do whatever I want. Or should I try to minimize the amount of Shabbos that I'm violating? Of course, I'm allowed to violate, but I should minimize it. So if you say that Shabbos is hutra, you're saying it's not Shabbos right now because the situation is it calls upon violating Shabbos. It is no longer Shabbos. You can violate Shabbos. You don't have to get a non-Jew to do it yourself. Just do it yourself. Go. Okay, you got to go do whatever you have to do. If you say that it's only dechuya, then it's pushed aside. Meaning Shabbos is really still hanging there. But of course, anytime you need to do this to violate because of the sakana, you do it. But better to get a non-Jew to drive you to the hospital, call an Uber. Again, if it's about time, then forget it. You have to do what you have to do. But if you have, anyways, it takes you 10 minutes to get yourself together. In the meantime, you can call an Uber driver. Getting an Uber to drive you you knock it down to it is the Rabbanon. So that's better than me driving it.
Phone call, you waited for somebody, but you speak to somebody, you're paying your money.
Yeah, correct.
That stuff before you even drive the car.
Yeah, but when I drive the car, I'm violating Yisurim D'Oraisa. I gotta turn the engine on. I gotta, every time I rev the engine with my foot on the gas pedal, I'm adding more fuel to the fire. So it's you start to have to make calculations. Cheshbonot. That's chutra dechuya. Okay, we're not gonna get into that right now, but that's an interesting and fascinating, deep topic on Hilchot Shabbos, and that's sort of what's going on here. Like better to move the light than put it out. Right? You're violating something a little bit less.
So the muktzah issue is that because you're moving the light.
You're moving the light.
On and turn it off, or you're adding more.
Right, let's say you can move it gently. You're not causing it to go up and down. You move it gently to the other room. This is a sort of tiltul muktzah, which is going to be Reish Ayin test. We're going to talk about can you not? Dine tiltul haner. Bottom line is you're really not supposed to move the candle. It's on. and even sometimes after it's burned out. Okay, Vayim Be'er Halacha, he sends us to the Be'er Halacha to look for a more in-depth discussion about this. But yeah, we're good. This is that first Be'er Halacha. He goes into it with more. Again, he gives you much more color about the topic.
What's
Okay.
interesting is that the Mishnah Berurah is not necessarily completely agreeing with the Mechaber here.
Right.
Because the Mechaber is one is mutar. Which means
Right.
that maybe I don't have to do any of these games. Maybe I
Correct.
can completely-
So we will see that we get to Shin Chav Ches again in a few years.
Yeah.
That the Mechaber seems to take a more hutra stance,
Yeah.
and the Ramah, the Ashkenazi minhag, is to be more machmir about this question. So if you were to ask me, I've gotten this question before. Okay, what do I do if I go into labor on Shabbos? So I give people, I'm sure Moshe gets the question more often than I do, but when I get a question, I will give you guidance. Like, try to, if time is not the, of essence, it's not like you have to go right this second, and you could take a cab there, noch besser. It's better if you have no time, or it'll take too long to get the cab or whatever. Don't waste time and get to the hospital. We'll talk about more cases when you're in the hospital over Shabbos. We'll talk about things that that you're allowed to do. Actually, what you're allowed to ask the nurses.
Yeah, but it's a little, meaning I think it's a little interesting, right, that the Mishnah Berurah, when he writes this, right, he doesn't really, he just seems to be explaining the Rambam in.
Correct. So the Rambam's Parashat Mishnah that don't jump. The Rambam says don't jump to putting out the candle because you might have other options first.
Right, but I would think he's just like, I want you to know it's not so simple. Meaning he doesn't tell us what his.
The Rambam.
No, the Rambam is clear.
Oh, the Mishnah Berurah doesn't tell us his. Yeah, his.
But is not saying, this is what it means, or this is what I think, right? Which this all just.
Yeah.
Sort of, there is another side.
Yeah. And by the way, one of the reasons that's mentioned in the Be'er Halacha about this, why is he saying like, oh, move the candle instead of putting out the candle? He says like, because the Rambam paskin like Rabbi Yehuda, that a malacha she'en tzich legufa is chayev. He says we shouldn't take it so lechatchila. We shouldn't be so like flippant about like, oh yeah, just turn out the light. It's not a big deal because the Rambam was not comfortable with this. So he says, how can lechatchila we just like go right off the bat, like jump to being lenient? It's okay if that's what the conclusion of how the situation, but he doesn't love it right away. That's why. So, yeah.
Okay.
I hear. Okay. Sif katan beis lechabos haner shi ukashiyakitza charkach. Right. But the sick person wakes up. Now the sick person needs light. Maybe they need light, they need warmth, or whatever they need. So please don't eat the whole thing. Okay? Don't forget to make a bracha. Okay, so when a person gets up afterwards, mutter lidlo kaner bishvilo. You can light the candle for them. Again, they're a chola sheyesh bo sakana. They're a chola sheyesh bo sakana. If they need the light, they need the light. Then you light it. You light it up for them. Uvechol zeh, im ein Yehudi muzman lefanav shalasos al yada b'li yichur. Yasel Yada. If there's an non-Jew there, and without delay, they could do the very same thing, then ask the non-Jew to do it. So you're in the hospital. You need, you need someone to adjust the lighting. I don't know. Why the woman is in the middle of labor, right? You couldn't. It's a serious situation, and she needs the light for whatever reason. Even though you're like, okay, medically this doesn't make any sense. She's like, I need the light on, right? I need the light on. Means the light's going on. That's the Yeshbo Sakana, even though medical reason, to do that. I actually recall, that my Rebbe, Rabbi Weeder, when was talking to certain things in the hospital, or before before some of these people at the table were born, I had asked, on certain halachos, he said, whatever in labor, even like, people are very machmir at certain points, in terms of Hilchot Shabbat, certain things kick in, at a certain point. And he said, if your wife needs you to hold her hand through the labor, like all the way through the end of it, you'll hold her hand. Because like, it's a case of sakana. And whatever she needs, you need as the spouse to provide that. Obviously not a doctor, but like, there's the other things that are not just medical, like a light, are necessary too. If that's important to the person who's in the hospital, forget labor, forget whatever it is, this is like, and they're in a very serious situation, you know, you do it. And now if you could do it through a non-Jew, right, can you please, you push the call button or you go over so you go to the hallway, hey, can somebody, adjust the bed up, down, whatever. Better, it's better to ask, a non-Jew. Okay.
Why would you think of Machaber is talking about Machabos and not Lahab? Like-
No, I think he's saying both here. Oh, the Machaber, because he's channeling the Mishnah. The Mishnah it was the case of
to be lighting it.
so he's lighting it. Yes, correct. Which is why it's a funny way to write the halacha, because like obviously you could turn out the candle, for a case of sakana.
Right.
The chiddush is that the Mishnah really is not talking about sakana. The Mishnah was talking about ein bo sakana, which is more interesting, because like there are some leniencies for chola she'ein bo sakana on your Shabbos, which are not like, oh, you can go all the way, to the to the nth degree and do whatever you need to do. You are allowed to ask non-Jews to do certain things when you're a chola she'ein bo sakana, right? Yeah. Okay. Gimel, the last part of the siman, which is very long. Sif katan gimel, and very lengthy. So you're gonna turn the page also when we get there. HaChola sheyesh bo sakana shepikuach nefesh docha Shabbos. The most basic rule, pikuach nefesh, right? Saving a life. You can knock aside Shabbos for that. We'll see that in Shin Chav Ches, which is a whole siman that doctors must know. It is a chiyuv for doctors to know Shin Chav Ches.
That's Shin Chav Ches.
Shachach, right? They don't want to forget it. Correct. It's a must to know how to function on Shabbos. In terms of medical care. And if you're scared of also the situation, you're scared of bandits, robbers, bad people who are trying to hurt you. Shelo yavo alav v'yahargusha. They shouldn't catch you and kill you, right? Ve'ein lo eitza lahastir es haor. And I have no better sort of advice on how to turn the light out other than turn the light out so that they don't know, that guy doesn't know you're here, right? Gam kein muter lechabos. It's muter. Okay, and one of the most unchiddush like statements, like if your life's in danger, you do what you have to do to save your life. The kostavu ha'achronim, and the achronim write on this. Tehu adin b'shvil ha'chola shehu fake sakana, gam kein muter lechabos. Now, again, very important rule to know: safek nefashos lahakel. Whenever you're not sure, is the person's life in danger or not? I'm not a doctor. I can't know without running certain tests. I can't know whatever. As long as you call maybe you have the two doctors in the room, so like you might appreciate this. I always wonder like the doctor that's on call who gets certain calls, and you're like you start calling and describing them symptoms. I feel this, I feel that, and they go, what? And you go, what should I do? What do I say? How can I help you? I don't know what the problem actually is. What you're saying, yeah, my options are go to the emergency room, or if there's an urgent care that's open, go to there. Like, I can't really diagnose you over the phone, right? So I just imagine, right? A person doesn't know about themselves, or even sometimes a doctor doesn't know. They'll say, actually, we don't know. I would recommend, since it's a suffix, go to the hospital, get checked out. Maybe it's nothing, but chas v'shalom, it's something. Go, right? So if it's suffix sakana, it's also permissible to put out the candles. That person is sick. You're like, I don't know, something might be very wrong here, and just we err on the side of caution. We treat suffix sakana like a sakana. Okay. Aval b'shvil chol she'ein bo sakana. But what about the person who's sick, who's ill, who doesn't feel well, but their life is not in danger? They're not imminently, in a situation of it's life threatening. Then it's also, what was that?
Yeah, strep or cold.
Right. By the way, strep is a great situation. A cold that might, it's an interesting quick. But he feels we have. By the way, a couple winters ago, I had strep 4 times as an adult. It was going around our house like ping pong.
I've had it.
Like a ridiculous amount of times, and so I even got it a bunch of times. And when I got hit with the symptoms, I actually remember one time I was a Motzei Shabbos. It was weird. My wife and I had gone out, like whatever, and I in the middle of it started to get the chills, and I was just like, and I started to feel awful, 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 awful. That's chol she'ein bo sakana. My life in danger? Of course not. My life's not in danger, but I feel like chol she'ein bo sakana means you're no fella mishkav. You're like you feel like you need to be bedridden. Like I need to go lie down on the couch. I just can't function. Right? Then you're chol she'ein bo sakana. Yes, I did not feel. I did not feel good last year on the Pesach. Yes, thank God we turned the page from that. Anyways, so you have here, so it's also lechabos. It's prohibited just because the person is really not feeling well. They have to lie down. They need to they have a migraine, and I need to rest. I can't function right now, right? Also lechabos, lekule alma. Everyone agrees you cannot turn that light out. Now, if it's only it's the Rabbanan, it's not a chiyuv chatas like the Rambam holds, right? Where I'm violating the Torah law. From the rabbis, it's still prohibited, right? So it's not like you hold the rights of the Rabbanan. At the end of the day, it's usher. Okay. Now he gives us a little bit of about malacha she'en tzricha legufa. So just before we even talk about malacha she'en tzricha legufa more in depth here, again, what we're seeing is that a person is not feeling well, but they're not a sakana. You yourself cannot turn out that light, or the family member cannot turn out the light for that person. You really at that point, what you need to do, this we talk about more in Shir Chav Ches, is you're gonna have if there's a non-Jew available. Right?
Yeah.
You can, if you like, if I'll just read to you, there are multiple opinions. It's very long simon too, by the way. But there are multiple opinions on this topic. Right? By the way, over there Ramah defines the chol she'en bo sakana. He's like I'm like bedridden. I can't function. I remember Rav Schechter once said, like, if you can't function in your normal way, like really, like not like I can have a headache, but I can sort of push through and do my work and whatever. I don't feel great, but I can. No, I can't do my work. I have to go and sit down somewhere. I have to go to that is chol she'ein bo sakana. Then you can ask a non-Jew. You can ask a non-Jew, to get involved and to help out in certain ways.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
The concept of turning off light,
Yeah.
and that's malacha she'en tzricha legufa,
Yeah.
because you don't need the coal.
The coal or the wicks. Yeah.
That's a big skittish to me. I'll tell you why, because lighting a candle has two purposes. Either it's the light
Or the warmth.
or the warmth.
Right.
So you're saying, so either one of those is tzarech gufa.
Yeah.
So I would think that putting it out for darkness is also tzarech gufa.
But the difference, right? But you don't need the
No, but
right.
I'm saying it has.
So good. So let's read. He's about to give a Mishnah Rechav Chana was about to give a beautiful explanation, a very clear explanation of Malacha she'en tzricha legufa. So and he's going to use the case of Mechaba as one of the examples. Take a look here. Let's keep going now. Ulekach nikres Malacha she'en tzricha legufa. It's called this. We call this category very important. Halacha to know and for Hilchot Shabbat because it affects every malacha. Okay. It's called a malacha she'ein tzarich legufa because shaharei ein tzarich letachlis hamalacha. I don't need the thing where the malacha was performed, right? The purpose of the malacha. Ki ein tzarich la kiboy bishvil asmo. I don't need the kiboy for itself. The kiboy was that the wick or the coals now are accessible to me. They had a fire on them, and now I unburden them from the fire so that I can use them maybe later again, by the way. Maybe it's because I want to use it later for another fire. That's called, it all matters on your machshava. That's the point here. Your machshava, your purpose of doing the action matters in the level of the prohibition. Is it biblical, rabbinic in nature? And that can affect whether or not I can actually do it based on other mitigating circumstances. And he goes on to explain here. I'm extinguishing the flame for some sort of other purpose. You're going, The sick person should be able to sleep. Oshu chas al hashemen, which is also in the Pamei Madlikin. Chas al hashemen, chas al psila, right? If I have, I don't want to use all the oil up because I want to be able to use the oil. It's expensive. I want the oil for something else later in life, right? Shelo yila kulo achshav. I don't want all of it to burn right now. Or I touch the because I'm allowed to touch. Remember, we learned that I touch the cheres, the pottery in which the candle is. I said, "Ooh, it's very hot. It's going to burst the pottery. I'm going to lose my pottery here. So I'm going to put out the candle so that I don't lose my beautiful pottery in which the candle was placed. It's very hot suddenly." Or I put out burning wood. I want to be able to use the wood, for something else.
If you put it out because you need the oil, that's Eino Tzricha L'Gufo. I thought you said opposite.
What did I say before? I said that if you put it out
Yeah.
because you need, but the problem is the oil is the fuel. It's more like the wick. The oil is the fuel for the fire. What do I need later to be available to me if I want to relight it? He's about to talk about this. I need the wick. I don't want the wick to be burnt up. The oil, because the fuel is the one step removed.
Yeah,
That's the difference.
Oil, by the way, as being care about money, right? You're like, oh,
Correct. I'm not putting it out because I need.
Save money.
Right. It's I'm chas al mamono, really. Right.
That's true.
I don't need. It's not. It's close because I might want to use the oil. Because if I want it, it's not because I don't want it. I might need oil again later, but
you don't want to lose them.
Right. We're going to see in a moment here because I'll give a good case example in a second. But there, good, Jeffrey. Right? It's because it's also the money, right? Thank you for helping me think that through. But I put it out not because I want to use the oil again later, which I will do it, but it's because I want to save my money now. Right, and because I'm chas al mamoni, right, and that's why I'm putting it out.
If I'm putting it out because I want it to light it again later.
But not about money.
Not about money.
Yeah, so he's about to talk about that. Good. Look, he's about to say.
What could be the purpose? If you shut it off, the chole can sleep better.
Right, that's external. It's external from. It's external from the. That's right. That's external from the goof of the malacha. Now. So he says here, calls them mikre eino tzarech legufo. Oh, sorry. Osher mechaber hadaleka mipnei shechas al mamono. Right? Or I put out a fire because I'm worried it's going to burn down my. Remember, nowadays I told you guys, you put out a fire on Shabbos because it could burn the whole house and the sakanos nefashos. But in the days of the Talmud, when the floor was made out of dirt, you're like, okay, it may burn my, my favorite, my kid's favorite toy is right next to it, so it might burn. Well. We're fine. Our lives are not in danger. But I put it out because I don't want my child's toy to burn, right? Or I don't want, it's going to burn my $100 bill, then I'm chas al mamono, right? I'm not, he's putting it out because he doesn't want his money to go down or up in flames. Calls them mikre eino tzarech legufo. All these are called. I don't need the goof of the malacha. I don't need the goof of it itself of the malacha. Shahare eno miskaven, mechaven litachlis hamalacha atzma. I am not. My kavana is not on the actual result of the malacha itself, which is that the fire has gone out on the wick or on the coal, whatever it was. V'chein hadimyon b'shar malachos, and this is really an example for other malachos as well. He gives one now. Ready? Kagona chofer guma. This is the classic case in the Gemara. I dig a hole. Ve'ein sarech el afara, but I only need the dirt.
So what's the
Shahamalacha hi haguma, right? The malacha is the hole, right? Because what? If I dig the hole in the house, that's called bona. Mishum bona. I'm building, right? Because how do you build something in your house? First, you have to dig a hole in order to then stick something in the ground, and then I gotta replace the dirt. So that's part of the building process. So if I dig a hole inside my house, it's a violation of the melacha of bona, of building. If I dig a hole outside of my house, mishum choresh, I go out to my yard and I dig a hole on Shabbos, okay, I violated the melacha of plowing because that's what you do when you plow. You're turning up the dirt, okay. V'keven de'ein tzarich laguma. I don't need the hole. I need the dirt. So that's the malacha. Have a malacha she'ein tzarich lagufa. I don't need the goof. The goof is the hole. That was the malacha. The malacha was the digging of the hole. The dirt just happened to move because I needed the hole.
Right.
But I needed the dirt. That's the malacha, the classic case of malacha she'ein tzarich lagufa, where we say that it's according to Rabbi Shimon potter. Okay, and we, except for the Rambam, most all the other poskim like Rabbi Shimon.
One question.
Yes, yeah. What's your question?
Are you allowed to dig outside in snow?
The snow is another problem because of no-lud. You can walk in the snow, but to build a snowman on Shabbos, I think is a problem. Or to form a snowball. To dig, so to move snow with intention and purpose like that is perhaps an issue. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Now, you could ask if there's a takana, right? So we want to clear a path, it's icy, it's something. So we will ask, here, like Juan will go out and he'll salt it because we don't want people to fall, slip. We've had people, by the way, I have a good memory of people in an early morning minyan on a weekday who slipped on ice and they were I remember and they like really yes, they slipped and they got hurt. They got very sick. Now, I remember it well, I should say. I remember it well. It's not a good memory. Anyways.
So I remember when I was in, I think, high school, the typical case I remember is when somebody carries, let's say, a big piece of furniture outside.
Yeah.
And you're dragging it.
That's right. You're dragging and you're making a charitz.
Right, and you're plowing.
You're digging a furrow.
But
the leg of the bench is digging a furrow.
You sort of want the actual piece of furniture somewhere else.
Correct.
So
that's another example of a malacha she'ein tzarich lagufa. Although I think that was a malacha. I think that's an example in the Gemara of a davar she'ein miskaven, meaning because it's not every type of dirt is going to have very pretty hard dirt. In which case, sometimes it might dig into the dirt a little bit and cause a charitz. Not just that you're pressing the dirt down. So I think that's an example of a davar she'ein miskaven, where like if it happens, I was still not my kavanah, and therefore it's mutter. We don't even say it's potter, it's mutter. Davar she'ein miskaven, it's not a 100% guarantee that it'll happen. If it does happen, it's mutter because it wasn't a psik reisha, and otherwise it was a perfectly fine thing to do. That's the case of the 100% guarantee. Is that they cut off the head of the chicken and it won't die. That's to give your child a toy. So yeah. Okay, let's finish this up. There is no such thing as extinguishing a flame where you do it for the extinguishing itself. Ella, he gives now the example. I put out the wood. I want to make from them coals. So I actually now I'm putting it out right now in order to then make it into future fuel. Right? The halos that tzarich laguf hamalacha. Right? So what did I do? I got the wood in a better place that the next time I want to light it, it'll catch quickly. So I lighted a little up on fire, put it out. By putting it out, all I did was I actually did want this. I exactly wanted it to go out like this so that this thing that I acted on is now in a state that is even more usable. Right? Of the halos, that's tzarich leguf hamalacha. I want the goof of the malacha. I want the malacha I wanted it exactly what I acted on. Unless I put it out, right? I can't get the coals in the state that I want them. So I want this to be exactly how it is. I'm not putting it out because I'm chas on my mammon, right? On my money. That's a different question. If I put it out because I don't want to have to buy more from the store, that's an external reason for doing it. But if I put it out so that this thing can be lit next time, that's the goof of the malacha. And he finishes up here. I put out the wick. He wanted so that the next time the Shabbos candles. Some people have this minhag where you light the Shabbos candles on Erev Shabbos, not to light them. Sometimes the husbands will have them. You want to make it easy for the wife to light the Shabbos candles. You light the candles first. You know that little plasticky part. No, it's not plastic, but like around the wick, you kind of burn it off. Then you blow out the candles so that when your wife comes to light the candles, it's much easier to catch.
And you're part of the mitzvah.
And then you're a part of the mitzvah till you prepared. It was also part of the preparation. That's an example of where you blow out the candles. That was mechabesh etzarech laguf hamalacha. You wanted that, so the wick is exactly ready the way it is. That is hamalacha shetzrich etzarech laguf hamalacha. Okay, sheyehe nechaz b'haur yofek sheyachzor v'yadikan. When you come back to light it, it catches quickly. Perfect. The wick is perfect right now. V'cholze shekasavnuhu ledas harbe poskim. This is according to the majority of poskim. He wants to highlight, of course, the Harambam posik to malacha shein tzarech lagufa chayav aleha. The Rambam paskas of malacha shein tzarech lagufa. You are violating a Torah law. Torah law. So therefore, it's a much higher level of a problem, not just potter. And according to even the majority of the poskim we mentioned before, Isser Kaviyah, Chamur, Mishar, Isser Derabanan. According to most of the poskim, this Isser Derabanan is more strict than the other Issurei Derabanan. Kevin the Yesh Bo Tzadchi of Lekulei Alma, because there is this guy, the Rambam out there. You can't ignore the Rambam. The Rambam was a major figure, and and also because the very same action can create you an Isser D'Oraisa, meaning it all depends on what was my machshava. So because this one functions particularly very similar, that I could do the malacha the same way and violate it in a Torah way versus a Derabanan way. So here we are more stringent than other Isurim Derabanan. That when it comes to calculate out certain sfekos, we might be nota in a more machmir direction when we are figuring things out. Like, what if it's bein hashmashos? Is it bein hashmashos? Yeah, suffix. Maybe you'll be machmir here because it is a malacha that not just it's malacha shein tzarich lagufa, but it's a malacha that looks, if it is ein tzarich lagufa, it looks exactly like the way I do it, lagufa, right? So because it's an appearance looks very similar, sometimes we may be machmir in certain calculations of suffix in particular. All right, we will pause here. We finish the siman in one sitting, which is a rarity, and then we move on next week to the topic of tiltul haner b'shatz, the last candle topic. About moving the candles on Shabbos, or what happens when the candle goes out. Can I move the Hanukkah topic too next week? Exactly. All right. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Happy Hanukkah, Freilich and Hanukkah. What was that? Next week I'm here. The following Sunday, I think I am. Right. I think I'm here. Next week for Sunday for sure I'm around. Yeah, next Sunday for sure. You're doing two Shabbos, two Sundays. Yeah. Next week you're here or you're not here? You're here? Oh, you're in Israel. We're going in this week? Nesiya Tova. Okay. Hinda, you're available next week?
Possibly not. We're in transit next Sunday.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see then. I'll see if if most people are not here, then maybe we'll forego. We'll see. All right. Have a wonderful day. Happy Hanukkah, everyone.
Thank you.